The winners in exterior rehabilitation are Ricky and Mallory Washington. The Washingtons' crumbling concrete walkways were a tripping hazard and drained water toward their foundation. Repouring the front and side walkways, plus adding a new seating area, stopped basement seepage, made the paths safer, and boosted the bungalow's curb appeal.
Hi, my name is Mallory Washington, and
I'm Ricky Washington.
And we've been here for approximately 4 years, almost 5.
When we first got the home, the concrete situation, it was pretty much a hazard. When you come through the gangway, the concrete was broken up, rain puddles in the middle, which also caused seepage to go down the foundation and into the basement.
Also, the front of the home with the broken pieces of concrete. It was more so of a tripping hazard, and we were worried about guests that were coming in to our residence would trip and fall, so we definitely wanted to have that part repaired as soon as possible so no one would get hurt.
What we did was contacted the company to come out to pour concrete, but more importantly, we wanted to widen the base of the concrete so we can have a little entertainment space on the side and in the rear of the home. Also, we wanted everything to tie in together because as we was doing the concrete, we had a landscaping project in the front, so it gave it a complete detailed makeover with great curb appeal. It just goes to show you an important role that concrete has when it's diminishing and breaking up in pieces and pulling off the foundation that opens up other aspects because water find its next lowest point and it gave it access to it. So once we sealed it up, no seepage on the side whatsoever, nor the front.
Summertime in Chicago, you know, when you want to enjoy the weather, you want to just sit out. Sometimes you don't always want to go out. You want to sit, and that's the purpose of having a home, right? You want to sit and actually enjoy your own space. Now we can actually sit here. I can enjoy my flowers. I can enjoy the fresh breeze, the sunshine. Those are all things you just want to do in your own space, in your own backyard.
Give you a space to decompress, relax, enjoy a cigar.
Definitely after
bourbon.
work.
Just listen to some music and chill out.
The winners in interior rehabilitation are Stephen and Hannah Schatzwell. The Schatzwells' kitchen and back porch had low ceilings and bricked-in windows from the 1970s. By reopening the windows and adding a few more, they filled the space with natural light. Integrating the porch and a new pantry into the kitchen reintroduced original elements with modern function.
I'm Stephen Schatzwell.
I'm Hannah.
And we have lived here 6 years now, bought it in 2019.
Yeah.
At some point in the 70s, they had bricked up some windows. The ceiling was about 18 inches lower. The back porch that you see now is totally blocked off. It was kind of wood paneling everywhere, yellow linoleum and old appliances, and it was very
dark,
much in need of some updates. I think the main thing was we wanted more light in the space. We started with the back porch. The back porch was kind of a separate thing. It wasn't really used, and so we kind of practiced back there, so to speak. So we started back there by opening up the windows. There were just a couple of small windows. We made some larger windows. We added another window. From there, we moved into the kitchen eventually. We just kind of went for it with the demo. We opened up windows, we added furring and insulated everything, and ran new electrical, new plumbing, kind of everything. Everything that we opened up that looked like it needed to be updated, we updated it.
I love the light, how much light there is in here now. When we got here, it was just so dark.
Yeah, I like having views outside, you know, working at the sink or even just looking out through the back porch to the garden. All the spaces now kind of blend together where you can hang out on the back porch but see what's going on in the kitchen and vice versa.
Runners-up in interior rehabilitation are Sean and Lynn O'Dowd. The O'Dowd's bathroom, worn down since its 1970s renovation, was updated for aging in place with grab bars and improved lighting. They restored original 1920s features like the tile floor and wood window, creating a brighter, safer space that blends modern convenience with vintage charm.
My name's Lynn O'Dowd,
And Sean.
and we have lived here for 24 years, since 2001.
It was just getting weathered. It was tired, just to look at it. You could see the wear and tear on it after all those years.
There was rust starting on the mirror area. The sink was scratched. The tiles were coming off the bathroom wall, so it was time. It needed work.
When we looked at some of the upgrades and things like that, it's like, what do we do to make it modern? What do we do to bring it up to the standards that you live with now? Better lighting for all the areas above the sinks, just the general area of the showers. This floor is the original floor that came with the house. Lynn saw this floor underneath it. I was like, oh my gosh.
We have to have this floor.
Is there any way to save that?
Right.
It had years of adhesive from different floors. Over the years, people had tried to grout it and re-grout it. So it was a significant amount of work. There's a lot of cleaners that you can use that will etch that and bring it back. And anybody can get a lot of these products. You don't have to be a contractor or anything.
When I saw the blue, I thought, oh, let's do the cabinet to match. And he actually took one of the tiles into Sherwin-Williams, and they matched the color of that blue periwinkle.
We basically just replicated the countertop that was in there, which was Corian at that time, and just went with a hard surface quartz.
And then we actually had them make a piece from that countertop and made an extra shelf for the windowsill. So it makes the windowsill a little wider. I can put my tchotchkes there. Right? One of the things we really wanted to do was make sure that we could age in place. We are in our mid-60s and we'd like to stay here as long as we can, so those upgrades needed to happen also. Now we have the handheld shower Sean put in. Having surgery, able to grab the bar when you get off the toilet or in the bathtub. All of those things just make it so much easier.
What do I like about it? It's done.
The winners in interior restoration are Nicole Sanders and Greg Hitzroth. The original wood floors in Nicole and Greg's bungalow were warped, scratched, and worn down to raw wood. After careful research, they sanded and restained the floors themselves, choosing a low VOC finish to improve indoor air quality and restore the floor's natural beauty.
My name is Nicole Sanders.
Greg Hitzroth. We've been here since July of 2024, so a little over a year.
When we got here, the old finish had faded in a lot of spots throughout the house. There was like a lot of wood that was really gray and just kind of damaged. We were very happy that the original floors were still here.
Some of the rooms had gouges in the floors, some scratches here and there.
One of the rooms had pretty bad warping. There may have been some kind of water damage in the past. So we started doing some research once we were getting ready to move in. We knew from previous experience that the smell of polyurethane really bothered us a lot. It made us feel really sick. We'd been in a building that had floors refinished. So we started doing some research on what kind of products had low VOCs and are also easy to apply.
I've had some friends who had refinished their own floors and they said the process they lied. They said it was quick. We thought we could do it, and we watched a few videos, and it was very doable. We went with the random orbital sander, even though it probably took longer to take off the original finish and then smooth out the floor, but I think ultimately it was doable for both of us.
And then we did a lot of research around the finish.
Nicole did a lot of research around the finish.
The Rubio Monaco, and that's what we ended up going with, just from different recommendations of how easy it would be to apply and also the low VOCs. And it's a linseed oil product, and we like that about it too.
And supposedly it just binds with the wood too. If we do get spots where it wears away, we don't have to redo the entire floor, we can just redo spots. I think it really makes the color of the wood pop. We chose a natural
tint.
Tint, yeah. And so it really brings out the color of the wood and the grain of the wood. I think it looks really nice.
I think we're very happy with it. I really love how it feels as well. It feels differently. It doesn't have a plastic finish, so you can actually still feel the wood a little bit. I love the color. These rooms face north, so they're a little bit dark, and so I like having the lighter floor color.
I think it was challenging, a good learning curve.
I think the fact that we did it made us love it more. That's why I have carpets everywhere, because I want to protect the floors.
Yeah.
Runner-up in interior restoration is Jan Goodell. The original fireplace in Jan's bungalow had been painted over, and its wooden built-ins were warped. He used steam and clamps to straighten the doors so they closed properly again, and carefully removed paint from the historic tiles and plaster hood, restoring them with period-appropriate colors and techniques.
My name is Jan Eric Goodell, and I've lived in this bungalow since 2013. The fireplace, all the green tile was covered with white latex paint. I wanted to restore the fireplace, so bringing it back to its original condition. So I went through a process of basically tile by tile stripping off the white latex paint very carefully. Then after that, I moved on to the sort of Spanish scenes, and I did a little bit of research and found that these were manufactured by a company called Claycraft in the 1920s out of Southern California. I found some examples of the tiles where they had more color. So I got some very small paint brushes, some oil paint, and different supplies, and got to work. So the process is pretty tedious. I would kind of sit on a stool and just go tile by tile. And the tools that I used were just a regular paint scraper, but then also a fine razor blade. I didn't use any chemicals. I didn't want to get any chemicals near the Spanish tiles. So I was pretty lucky. I was able, just with a lot of elbow grease and persistence, to get all of that white paint off. The doors on the bookcases were warped and they were popping open. So while I was working on the fireplace, I removed the doors, put them on some sawhorses, and did a kind of steam technique to treat the wood with some moisture and heat. And then that loosens up the wood fibers, makes them more pliable, clamp them down so that they were straight. And now they stay closed. I put some new latches on. I like how it is now. It looks a lot better than when we first moved in.
The winners in window restoration are Heidi Hochberger and Tony Greif. Heidi and Tony's bungalow had original wood windows covered in chipping paint. After learning that restoration would cost the same as replacement, they restored the windows, storm windows, screens, and doors, adding weather stripping. Now, these century-old materials are set to last another 100 years.
I'm Tony Greif.
I'm Heidi Hochberger.
And we've had our bungalow for just over 5 years.
The windows were covered with yellow lead paint that, of course, we wanted to get rid of that. So we wanted to restore the windows.
Some of the storm windows were a little damaged, so we would definitely get drafts in the winter. But I was personally a skeptic that these 100-year-old windows could really show up for another 100 years. And we're so glad we did it because it's so comfortable in here during the winter. We've been through at least one polar vortex, and they really have been incredible.
We worked with a company called Historic Home and Window Restoration, and they were fantastic. Really could not recommend them enough. They took out all of the 40-plus windows that we had, took the screen windows and the storm windows out to their facility where they stripped the paint and repainted all of them, and then were on site for a few weeks removing the paint from all of the window trim and repainting all of that.
And I was really surprised that when we went to figure out budgets, getting all the windows restored was about the same price as getting them all replaced. And now we know that we're on a lot longer timeline of having to really do a big rebuild of these again, and they just look incredible. So I think that it was a really easy choice for us to go with restoration versus replacement.
We knew we wanted to do green because it's natural and thought it would look nice with a brick on the front of the house. What we did is we got a ton of paint samples, picked some of our favorites, and we painted some big plywood boards and leaned them against the front window of the house. And we sat outside for an afternoon and asked everyone that walked by which one was their favorite.
But we had just moved in, so it was a great way to kind of force an introduction and get some feedback from the neighbors.
We loved the look inside the house of all the natural wood. We especially love the front door. Kind of stands out when you look at the house from the front. We love that we have screens, we can open the windows, we can get a nice breeze going, and that they're safe, there's no more lead paint. The house will have these windows for hopefully at least another 100 years, and if we'd replace them, they'd probably need to be replaced again in 20 or 30 years.
Seriously consider restoring windows versus replacing them. And having gone through it all, as long of a project as it was, as much as we went through to get it done, it is an easy decision if you can make it work in your house.
Runners-up in window restoration are Mark and Jerry Webb. The Webb's original 1927 art glass windows were beautiful but in poor condition. Broken pieces were repaired and damaged wood frames were restored and repainted. Now these century-old windows are as beautiful and functional as the day they were made.
I'm Jerry Webb.
I'm Mark Webb.
And we've lived here for 9 years. In almost 100 years. The house was built in 1927, and I don't think anybody ever did anything.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that like strong wind didn't like cause pieces of glass to fall out.
Right. There were cracks, there were some panes that were just missing altogether, and then the wood framing was really a mess. And thanks to Chicago Bungalow Association, we looked on your trusted resources page and found Solstice Stained Glass. Emily, who's the owner, came out. She works with a couple of different carpentry companies that specialize in doing windows.
We didn't really know what we're doing or what needed to be done, so she was great guiding us through the project, describing everything.
And we chose the Vintage Windows is the name of the company, and Placido's the owner, and he came out and just was very detailed about what he would do and all of that sort of stuff. It was just a fabulous experience.
Yeah, and seamless all the way from beginning to end.
And everybody who walks by, it's just like, oh my God, look at those windows, they're so fabulous.
Yeah, I'm so happy we did this. I mean, the easy thing would have been to replace them, but I'm so glad that we had them restored.
Yeah.
The winners in Small Project are Megan Andrews and Kevin Templin. While removing wood paneling, Megan and Kevin uncovered an original archway. They repaired the plaster and closed up a doorway added in the 70s, restoring the room's original layout. After refinishing the wood floors and adding a custom bookshelf, the finished space blends historic charm with modern function.
I'm Kevin Templin.
And I'm Megan Andrews, and we've been here 2.5 years.
Very traditional to what you'd expect from like a 1970s renovation. The current doorway was just covered with wood paneling. As I was pulling down paneling, the opening was just there. They didn't remove it or anything. Once it was open, the doorway, the plaster needed to be finished, so it was a little more clean, and then the other doorway had to be removed and simply just patched it with drywall at that point.
The finished room is my study, and I love it. And because the archway matches other arches that we have on the floor, I was very excited that we were able to find a way to keep it and restore it. It kind of feels like we're bringing the house back to how it originally was.
Having it opened there makes it a more open space, part of the living space on this floor.
Best text I've ever gotten when I was at work, when he discovered, he sent me the picture, look what I found.
Runners-up in Small Project are Adam and Sterling Lato. Under the front porch of Sterling and Adam's bungalow was a chilly root cellar. They transformed this often overlooked space into a wine cellar with new lighting, a wine fridge, racks, a decorative tile ceiling, and a DIY cellar door.
I'm Sterling Lato.
I'm Adam Lato.
We've had the bungalow since, summer of 2016.
So when we bought the house, it still had the original 1924 root cellar under the front porch. When we got it, it was just a big empty storage space with exposed brick and always chillier than the rest of the house. So after it was used for storage for quite some time, we had an issue after a big storm. We had a little bit of water in the basement. It overwhelmed our flood control system. So we had to do a bit of a cleanup. When we got the stuff out of there, it was, for the first time since we moved in, it was empty and clean. We're like, okay, you know what? We always want to do a wine cellar in this basement. It was at the bottom of the list of things to do. It's empty now. Now's the time. Let's get to it. Since there was this closet next to the cellar, let's kind of incorporate the closet with the cellar. So we call it our wine bistro and our wine cellar. We got decorative ceiling tiles to put in the bistro to kind of get some elegance. We ran power so that it could have the lighting, the fridge, a fan for the super hot days, a heater for the super cold days.
Because it took us a while to figure out what types of wine racks we wanted in there. We knew we had to get something that would stand another storm if we got more water in there. So couldn't be too low to the ground, had to be metal, no more wood in there.
So I wanted to build a door. It's like a nice 4.5-inch thick, almost vault-like door with a pivot hinge with glass to see into the cellar. Yeah.
It's nice because we like to stay at home, especially now winter's coming anyway. Just curl up on the couch with a bottle of red wine and turn on a movie. It's great.
Runners-up in small project are Mary and Hector Fernandez. The back porch of the Fernandez bungalow was transformed into a versatile room. Custom shelving was added to an open closet for keepsakes and kitchen items, with additional storage through a sideboard and window bench. New wallpaper and paint, plus a desk by the window, make this cleverly designed space double as a home office.
I'm Mary Fernandez, and this is my husband Hector, and we've been here for seven years. 2.5, 3 years ago, we decided that we needed to extend our kitchen. And I was reading recently in Architectural Digest. The scullery is like the new thing in houses. And a scullery is an extension of your kitchen where if you're entertaining, you can kind of store things and put things. And I thought, wow, that's a really great idea. And we really need that because we have so many things that we wanted to display. Beautiful hand-me-downs, pots and pans, and we needed a place for general storage. What else can we use the room for if it's not just for storage? We run a couple of small businesses out of this space as well. We hired a company to build the shelves inside of what was previously a TV area, I think. A closet. And then Hector did the wallpapering, framing, all the painting.
Actually, I painted this room 5 times before we ended with this color.
Yeah. It was a blank slate. It was a room of nothing. It was just kind of pasty walls, but the changes we made were we added the shelving, we did the framing, we did the wallpapering, we painted the whole place, we added this chest here to store extra items. It's been really useful for us. We use every inch of it, and we enjoy it immensely.
The winners in Green Project are Marika Mashburn and Dennis Grimes. During their kitchen, back porch, and attic renovation, Marika and Dennis prioritized energy efficiency. They added closed cell insulation, replaced leaky vinyl windows and skylights with thermal ones, and switched to an electric heat pump with mini splits for heating and cooling.
My name is Marika Mashburn.
I'm Dennis Grimes.
We bought this place in August of 2022.
Where they had done some type of work for insulation would have been in the mid 80s to early 90s. It was massively energy inefficient. There was a lot of masonry work that needed to be done, and it was a pure radiator system and then window air conditioning units. So that first summer we were here, even into the fall, we were seeing like electric bills in the $250 to $280, and then throughout the winter the gas bills were exceptionally high. We had like $280 to like $325 gas bills at certain points in time, and the house was still freezing.
We couldn't even really keep anything in the pantry because it would freeze. It was cold. It was very cold back there.
Primarily sealing up the heat envelope was a big part of things, including the back third of the house on the main level is all closed cell foam insulation. Additionally, putting in some new windows that are low E but like high energy efficiency, and doors as well. And then on the second floor in the rafter space, we've got 5 3/4 inches of closed cell foam insulation that goes around that house. And that kind of like took care of that, inclusive of windows at the front and back of the house that again are more energy efficient and actually sealed in so that the heat envelope is more closed. The biggest improvement was adding in the heat pump and the 3 inverter cartridges, and as well provide us with a more energy efficient system. And we basically converted ourselves almost entirely electric. We still have natural gas for hot water, but likely we'll pivot off of that in the next 3 to 5 years. It's an electric oven, microwave, induction cooktop, heat pumps. The electric bill has gone up relative, but like when you factor things in between, we're at a net savings. And once the rest of the insulation is completed, we also have a roof project. That will really kind of like help close up the envelope, and I expect that in the long term we'll see a pretty substantial energy savings over that period of time. But I think in general, one of the best parts about it is that it's just stable, because gas bills can fluctuate so much. Like planning your budgeting can be a little tricky, but it's very easy with us. Like our electric bills all live within a very narrow range. So it's just more helpful in terms of like planning that budgeting.
It's just being comfortable in our own bodies, and that's really as a whole. This is our forever home. This is something that, you know, we've literally worked our whole lives toward for energy efficiency and how we want to move through the world, but also our bodies growing with this house has been really important to us.
The winner in landscape design is Kirsten Solis. The Solis bungalow backyard was underutilized, with an uneven area prone to muddy puddles. In a cost-effective and sustainable solution, they repurposed old pavers to create a pathway that solved the drainage issue and leads to a tranquil seating area surrounded by native perennial flowers.
My name is Kirsten Solis, and I've lived in this bungalow since 2016. The garden was just kind of a lot of hostas, some daylilies, and a couple of seeded perennials. Of course, I had 2 little ones and a dog, and so the grassy area quickly turned into a muddy area because there was a lot of water collection in different parts of the backyard. Over the years, I made some intentional decisions on the plants and to make sure that they would survive the sun and the shade and the different activities that partake in my backyard. One of the biggest things was, how do we fix the grassy areas that become muddy areas throughout the summer? And so we were able to fix the problem by putting and resourcing some of our materials that we already have around the house. We had recently installed a new fence, and so we had pulled up some paver stones from that, and we didn't know what to do with them, so I decided to actually just break those up and make them look more like natural stones. I did have to purchase a few small stones from the store just to complete the look, but I was able to have enough to make a nice pathway and an area where I can sit. There was a lot of weeds going through the rocks in the beginning of the summer, and I had to figure out a way to try to cut that out. And so I resourced some moss from different neighbors and transplanted it to our yard. One of my favorite things about this project was that I was able to really use some native plants in the garden that will make it last for years and years. I love that I no longer have to walk through mud to get to my backyard. I also really enjoy coming out here in the morning and having my morning coffee, watching the birds, and really just taking a moment of quiet before the day starts. In the afternoon, me and the kids come and hang out here. We talk about our day, and it's a really nice way to enjoy this area that we previously never really used.
Runners-up in landscape design are Lauren Pate and Seth Johnson. Lauren and Seth replaced their backyard lawn with a native plant garden and a patio made of repurposed pavers. They also creatively transformed a carport next to their garage into an outdoor living space, perfect for entertaining, relaxing, and enjoying nature.
My name is Lauren, and my husband's name is Seth. We've had our bungalow for about 3 years now. When we originally purchased the house, this was sold to us as a carport, and it had a roof on it that was just opaque, and so there was no sunlight, and we felt like it was a big enough area to convert into a more usable outdoor space. So one thing that we noticed when we first moved in, the grass in the yard caused water runoff toward the foundation of the house. What we had to do was dig up the entire yard, put it on a slope, pitch the yard away from the house, also from the garage foundation, and move it toward an area where it could drain out of our property. A few of the choices that we made were very intentional to make sure that there were plants in bloom all year, but also plants that were native to the Chicago area, which is something we love because they're very low maintenance, they're used to rough Chicago winters, and they always come back stronger. We love to focus on sustainability, and so one of the things that we have is a compost for our yard waste. So if we cut the grass clippings go there. When the garden becomes a little overgrown, we trim it back, we toss everything back there, and then what happens over the course of a year is it will break down, and then we're able to actually use that compost in the garden. So it's just going back to where it came from. It also helps with maintenance of the yard because we don't have to constantly get yard waste bags. For this patio space, we made it really versatile. We have a swing that you can take a nap on, you can sit on it. We also have 2 dogs and they love to use that as their bed. So we put a dog door in, which is great because they love to go in and out into the shade under here. They love to spend time in the garden. The other thing that we did, we have a wall that is on a caster, and then it kind of just brings together the entire backyard and really the whole flow of the house when we're entertaining. I think what we really love is the versatility and just the ability to be excited about people coming over and coming into the backyard and having, a reaction of like, wow, you guys really did a great job with this space.